Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are once again going to be discussing the live-action Ninjago movie, which is a real project in development as we speak, of course being written by the same writers who wrote a lot of early Ninjago, so needless to say, a lot of Ninjago fans are rather curious to see what this movie ends up being. We've also been talking about in a few other videos what exactly the dragons in this Ninjago live-action movie could look like. Because again, it's a Ninjago project, chances are there will be dragons involved somehow. And like we've also discussed in a previous video, I think it is important to acknowledge another live-action remake coming out soon, which also includes dragons. That, of course, being the new How to Train Your Dragon remake, and let's talk about that new trailer. And then we can talk about how exactly all of this involves the upcoming live-action Ninjago movie. So, like I said, here we have the new trailer / TV spot, whatever you want to call it, for the upcoming live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie, scheduled to be released this summer. More specifically, we get ourselves a few new looks at some of the dragons, which, again, this movie is kind of just controversial on its own, but these dragon designs have sparked some controversy, at least with some of them. We will get into how that ties into the upcoming live-action Ninjago movie momentarily. But the controversy is, some dragons, like this one right here, go for a more photorealistic or kind of, less cartoony kind of vibe, which there's no such thing as a realistic dragon, but you get the idea. It's more ferocious, less cartoony. You can kind of see this one at the beginning of the little trailer here, doing the same thing or having the same type of vibe. This photorealistic dragon, as opposed to the more cutesy and cartoony toothless design that they decided to go with, which looks pretty much one-to-one with how he shows up in the actual animation. It looks very similar. The only difference is obviously the live-action toothless has a bit more photorealism going on too, but not as much as some of these other dragons, especially not that red one, whose name I do not know. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I just saw the name of this guy on Twitter, forgot about it. But in terms of how this ties into the live-action Ninjago, I think Ninjago fans have a very interesting discussion to be had surrounding the dragons that we see from Ninjago's original couple of seasons and how they might look in the live-action movie. Again, they might not have these specific dragons in the live-action Ninjago movie, like Rocky, Shard, Wisp, Flame. They might not be in it. They might. Just kind of depends on what the movie goes for. But my question is, what would Ninjago fans prefer? A more photorealistic design, like what we see here, or a more cutesy, cartoony design, like what we see in the original Ninjago series? Ninjago dragons hardly go for realism, I would say. Most of them are on the cuter side. Some are a little bit more ferocious, especially in later seasons. But I'm curious as to what Ninjago fans would want and what Ninjago fans are expecting. Actual photorealistic dragons like this, or maybe something more akin to Toothless, where the actual design is still relevant and still very much alive in the updated live-action model. The only difference is it has more realistic textures. Like, imagine these dragons keeping the same relative design, maybe the same head shape, same general vibe, just with more realistic textures. Would that be better than simply just redesigning all of the dragons to fit a more arguably realistic, more scary approach as seen with this guy right here? Ultimately, I think it depends on what the live-action Ninjago movie is going to be and the type of vibe that it will have. I don't think it's going to go for a mix of the two like we see in the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. They will probably just pick one route here, either realistic dragons or cartoony dragons. If the movie ends up being more on the funny side, I guess you could say, like the original Ninjago movie, where it was more so a comedy, wasn't taking itself too seriously, I think we can expect to see more cartoony dragon designs. However, if the live-action Ninjago movie, as recently rumored, is going to go for a more gritty PG-13 approach, I think they might try to do away with the cartoony dragon designs, and instead, in the case of Flame here, he might look something more akin to this, like more ferocious, more terrifying, more realistic, but again, dragons aren't realistic, but you get the idea. I think it just kind of depends. In terms of what I would prefer, as a longtime Ninjago fan, I would love to see some of these original dragon designs remain true to themselves. For example, if Rocky looked different, I think I would cry, just because of how iconic and how adorable Rocky is. That's why I feel like maybe they should try to go for the route of Toothless, where the same design is alive and well, just with updated textures. Like I said though, it doesn't matter what I would prefer, it just kind of depends on what the live action Ninjago movie will end up being. And as soon as we find that out, as soon as we figure out what exactly this upcoming live action Ninjago movie will actually do, I think then we will know what to expect regarding the Ninjago dragons specifically. So all things considered, everyone, I can see the Ninjago dragons in this upcoming live action Ninjago movie going in a few different directions. I think it ultimately just depends on what the movie is going to be like, but leave all of your thoughts down below in the comments. What would you prefer for the upcoming live action Ninjago movie and its dragons? Would you prefer more realistic dragons or more cartoony dragons? Maybe a mix of both? Leave all of your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoyed this one, feel free to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Peace.